Hello and welcome to Ryno's Ravens preview. It's week 16, that means the Atlanta Falcons. You can see here I'm on the BaltimoreRavens.com and I'm looking at the injury report. Some pretty big injuries to talk about. See right here at the top of the list, Calais Campbell is out. It's going to hurt the defense, especially the defensive line. But it is the Falcons, so probably be okay. You can see here Peters is also out. It does hurt, but he's more of a gambler and he's not really at 100%, I suspect. He tore his ACL, MCL, or one of those knee ones last year? Year before last. However it was. So I don't know that he's fully recovered from that. So the next guy on the list, I want to say Stevens, but I can't be sure on that. I think we can live with that, or at least win still without Peters for the moment anyway. Jackson is still out. As you can see here, Huntley is listed as questionable. So let's get to article written by Ryan Mink, BaltimoreRavens.com staff writer, and it picture finally loaded up. Where is it that he talks more about Huntley? Somewhere around here, I think. It is his throwing shoulder, but as you can see here, Ryan Mink talking to Harbaugh, they aren't really concerned about it, so Huntley's going to play, but it is of note that there is an issue with his throwing shoulder. That's really all they do. I mean, they do mention here Peters calf, Campbell knee. So, yeah, Brandon Stevens. Here it is right here. According to Ryan Mink, Mike McDonald says Brandon Stevens will be stepping in for Peters. And another injury note, and I will get back to the top. But I want to Duvernay. Seen the last video, you know that I'm very down on the Ravens passing game. Losing Duvernay does not help, right? Because we're already without Bateman. Now we're without Perriman. Bad news is Duvernay is on IR now. Broken metatarsal. I don't know much about bones in the foot, but it's a broke foot. So he's done. But at last, our savior, Sammy Watkins, is back again, and he's going to rescue our pass game. Okay. The article written here by Clifton Brown, also a BaltimoreRavens.com staff writer. See, Sammy Watkins. I'm not sure if this is a stock video from when he was here before, or if this is more recent. Who knows? I don't see a time or date stamp on it, but I honestly can't believe they brought back Sammy Watkins. I mean, I guess to say that he was bad is incorrect, but this isn't going to solve any answers with the pass game. So it's pretty much pointless as far as I'm concerned. I would rather you use a young guy. You barely use your wide receivers as it is, so what does it matter who you bring in and put there wide receiver? Doesn't really matter. You're terrible at using them anyway. Who cares? Sammy, why pay even if it's a minimum, it's going to be a league minimum for a veteran, which is going to be higher than, let's say, a second or third year guy. Just go get a guy. Go get a really tall guy. What's the point? What? Why? Why Watkins? Why? He's going to play. He knows the offense. So I assume that's why. He is familiar with the offense. So he's in. Right? It's immediate. I still say I would have rather them bring up a younger guy. You're not going to know the playbook unless you play. Right? You're not going to be great at playing in a Ravens offense if you never play in a Ravens offense. So what's the point of having anybody else on the depth chart or roster as a wide receiver if you're not going to use them? Why bring in another guy who's already here? Take a look at the Falcons. Something to note that another thing that is not going to go good for the Ravens offense. Dean Pease is a defensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons. Yes, the same Dean Pease that was here a few years ago. He knows the Ravens offense too. Probably better than Sammy Watkins. And if you remember what the Ravens did against the Giants, see, yes, Don Martindale was their defensive coordinator. Who won that game? The Giants won that game. The Ravens did not beat the Giants. Old defensive coordinators. So far this season hasn't gone well for the Ravens. Let's take a look at some of the Falcons' stats. Because if I haven't said it yet, the Falcons really aren't doing much of anything this year. So you can see some of the top defensive numbers. 6. Between their top 3 guys, 12.5 sacks. That's not great. Take a look at some of the offensive numbers for the Falcons, which does go in the favor of the Ravens. They have pretty low rushing yards and pretty low passing yards. Their offense is not doing great. So hopefully that will help us. But didn't help as much against Jacksonville or Cleveland. Part of it is we got too many injuries. Let's close some of these pages out. And we'll take a look at the standings. As you can see here, Cincinnati won their game, so they are leading the division. I mean, we're not in too bad a position. I mean, part of why we've fallen off is Lamar's hurt, and now Duvernay's out, and now Campbell's out, and now right, we can't keep our top receivers healthy. Andrews missed a few games, and he's come back, and he hasn't looked that great. I'm sure some of it is more coverages rolled towards him, because who else is there? There's no other weapon in the pass game. None. The one weapon you might say we had was Duvernay, and he's gone too. But luckily, we're playing the Falcons. So if we get a win this week, we very much increase our playoff contention numbers. As you can see, as Browns, Steelers, and Raiders are currently at 6 wins, 3 games back of the Ravens, with 3 games left to play. So if we win this game, it doesn't matter what those 3 teams do. They will be eliminated from taking a playoff spot away from the Ravens. We'll put it that way. I don't know how much I really care about, the playoff look overall as far as where the Ravens stand in it. So we'll put it like that. We beat the Falcons. You're knocking 3 teams off the list that can take a playoff spot from us, right? Browns, Steelers, and Raiders. We win. They're out of playoff contention as far as we're concerned. Now, we can clinch a playoff spot if you see, as I mentioned, the three teams there. But with the Patriots and Jets at 7 wins, as well as either the Titans or the Jaguar, whoever doesn't win a division, really, there's 3 teams there. They are 2 games behind the Ravens. Potentially, if those 3 teams lose and the Ravens win, right, they will not be able to overtake the Ravens as far as a playoff spot. So, while we got bad injury news as far as losing another wide receiver for the season, Lamar Jackson still isn't back. Campbell's not playing. Like, I don't know what's happening with the injuries on this team, but the past few years, wow, so many injuries at so many key positions. What is happening? I assume this has happened before to other teams around the National Football League, but this just seems like on the scale, it's just so up there. I don't know if it's because I'm rooting for the Ravens, I guess, why it seems more like worse, I guess. Why can we not keep people healthy? Especially like at your top 2 wide receiver positions or your quarterback position. But we're in a good spot. We're in a good spot, especially as far as playoffs look. And we're still hoping that Jackson will come back. Who's he throwing the ball to? I don't know. It looks like Sammy Watkins. Sammy Watkins and maybe Mark Andrews, if people will stop covering Mark Andrews so well. But Dobbins and Edwards had another week to be more in the flow of the offense, more in game shape. They look good. So hopefully the running game gets going, and it gets going good like the running game usually does. And then use that to set up the pass game. Suck some linebackers up towards the line of scrimmage and be able to throw it over the head. But hopefully Dean Pease has lost his step since he was here. Cross your fingers, everybody. Cross your fingers, Ravens flock. We got to get a W, get in the playoffs. That's going to do it for me. Fly, Ravens, fly.